Dragon Ball Sparking Zero sure has captured the attention of the nerdy part of the internet, and it's pretty easy to see why. Yes, it is a Dragon Ball game and a return to format that, with a lot of exciting new features like what-if scenarios. But it also looks like an actually good anime video game. Honestly, the concept of anime video games is a great one. These two communities intersect so frequently that making video games based off popular anime feels like a pretty obvious conclusion when you really think about it. There is so much potential, so many beloved characters and worlds and stories that can be adapted into great interactive adventures. So why is it that most titles based off anime are either underwhelming or kind of garbage? It feels like this idea should be an easy success, yet these games are not. Why is that? The answer is actually a mixture of multiple different factors. Not to sound like an elitist, but part of it is simply because the popular anime that usually get adapted into games are Shonen Battle, because those are generally the most popular anime. The community has expanded since the days when Shonen Battle ruled anime, when new genres like isekai, traditional fantasy, and romance taking the reins. But it's impossible to deny how iconic Shonen Battle series are, both new and old. Though we all have our preferences for what genres of anime we like, we all know the likes of Dragon Ball, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, and many more. The Dragon Ball franchise alone is worth billions, so it makes sense why these series would be first in line when it comes to getting a video game. They have huge fan bases full of people itching for more content. I personally would love it if shows like Frieren Beyond Journey's End or 86 got video games, but they aren't as guaranteed to sell copies as a game about One Piece. You could argue that indie games get by very well off word of mouth, so the goodwill of these shows would be enough. I would argue that anime games are generally more niche. If you aren't into anime, you're not going to buy an anime game, whereas other genres can surprise people who aren't usually fans. Honestly, look at Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash. The game did not do well, and it's based off a hugely popular show, one of the most well-known shonen battle of the last several years. Who's to say betting on another, potentially less-known franchise would go any better? At least, this is going on in the mind of executives. Remember, it is all a numbers industry. Even if Frieren is ranked number 1 on my anime list and beloved by fans, it's not as well known as series like Dragon Ball or Naruto. And considering that the video game industry has had a lot of shakeups in recent years, it makes financial sense to choose the safer option. Like I said, these Shonen Battle have big fan bases, and many of them have done a great job selling games in the past. It didn't matter how well received the games were, just that they made money. This isn't to say that we haven't gotten any video games based off non-Shonen Battle. Solo Leveling Arise released to decent fanfare and is getting a Steam release. Gundam has been getting games for years. Danmachi Battle Chronicle is a game I didn't even know about until I looked it up. And there are also a whole ton of different phone games, some of them being visual novels. But they aren't the majority, or at least they aren't talked about nearly as much as many of the titles based off shonen. Also, a lot of them are gacha games. But of course, you might ask, how is this a problem? While our pool of series that can get games might be a bit smaller than many of us would like, we can still get a lot of different adventures from them. Well, because a lot of them are Shonen Battle, the games we can get have a particular genre lean: fighting games. Not to say fighting games are bad. Some of the video game industry's biggest series and characters are fighters. The complexity of learning and perfecting these characters, combos, and fighting systems is enticing, and is what really keeps people coming back. They're easy to pick up, but hard to master. But if you're not getting a studio that really knows how to make a good fighting game, then you're just gonna get something passable at best. This is why Dragon Ball FighterZ is so good, because it was made by the reputable Arc System Works, who have a ton of great fighters under their belt. It's fast, energized, and features a lot of what makes Dragon Ball exciting, while still being a very well-made fighting game with a good competitive scene. Most of the other games we got are, well, arena fighters. Much as I enjoy the Ninja Storm games, and liked My Hero 1's Justice 1 and 2, they are pretty interchangeable. They feature your favorite characters and areas you recognize, as well as some mechanics and styles from the anime, but there's not much beyond that. They control very similar and only have a few differences among them. Because of that, these games are really only exciting for people who adore the shows. And even then, there's still an empty feeling. There's often so much effort put into fan service, and I'm not talking about boobs, because the actual mechanics of the games are pretty lackluster. They're fun for a few hours, maybe even more than that, but then you kind of forget about them. Compare this to some of the most famous fighting game franchises. Street Fighter has the notoriety and complexities that appeal to hardcore and casual fans. Mortal Kombat is brutal and filled with expanding stories and worlds. Tekken is super technical and perfect for fighting game nerds. Soul Calibur features a unique weapon fighting system that makes it stick out, and other anime fighters like BlazBlue and Guilty Gear are stylized and fast-paced fighters with large and diverse rosters, as well as complex fighting systems. They all have something to them. The games based off anime only have their brand. Like, take Kill la Kill If. I always thought it was a perfect series for a Dynasty Warriors style game, slashing through droves of enemies, the different schools and factions competing, and even combating the living clothes. Yet what we got was a pretty basic arena fighter. Nobody really remembers it. I love Kill la Kill and want to play a game based off that show, but the game we got feels like every other one, just with a new coat of paint. Does anybody even remember the Jujutsu Kaisen game? I already mentioned it before, even said the full title, and I bet you already forgot, huh? It's the same as the Ninja Storm games, one's Justice or Kill la Kill If, just now with Jujutsu Kaisen. These games aren't special, they simply exist. Of course, there are other anime video games that aren't arena fighters, or any kind of fighting game. I'll always give Fairy Tail credit that its first game was an RPG. One Piece has a ton of different games, often skewing more towards adventure games, or whatever the hell Pirates Carnival was. And Bleach also has had some cool games, like that Dynasty Warriors style game Soul Resurrection. So clearly, other genres are being explored, yet the only ones who really talk about these games are people who like the anime. Even other anime-styled games like the Tales of series, Scarlet Nexus, Senran Kagura, and current Fire Emblem games manage to attract a ton of different eyes, even those outside of the anime community. Tales of Arise even won the award for the best RPG of 2021. Hell, look at all of Persona, the wildly popular RPG series that even got several of its own anime. So what the hell is the problem? Why are these games great, but these ones seem lackluster? One, it's back to the problem of niche. You don't need to watch a series to understand these games, but for these ones, you do. And for many of them, they are long series. Nobody likes the idea of being excited for a game, only to realize you need to watch several hundred episodes of a show to understand what's going on. And two, a lot of them still feel kind of cheap, or buggy, or simply as basic as the arena fighters. I haven't heard anyone get really excited about these games. They're the games you buy because they're on sale. They're games that people say are just okay. They continue to rely on brand recognition. It's sadly the same problem a lot of current Pokemon games are having. They coast off the success of the anime and dole out a game that's decent enough. They often feel like lesser versions of other games, just with your favorite worlds and characters slapped onto it. The real focus is on the shows. The games are just bonus content, and they sell well among fans. The reviews might be middling, but they made money. The game did its job. This isn't to say that a lot of anime games, even ones I've mentioned, are bad. They can be a lot of fun, playing as your favorite characters in your favorite worlds. But like I said at the start of this video, there is so much potential that simply isn't being reached. I said Kill la Kill would make an amazing hack and slash game similar to Dynasty Warriors, but there are other franchises that could work well in other genres that aren't being touched. Naruto would do well in adventure games, utilizing its large world and cool power sets. My Hero Academia would excel in making an open-world adventure, similar to the modern Spider-Man titles by Insomniac, or even taking a page from Dragon Ball's book and doing something similar to Xenoverse. And we may have gotten a Fairy Tail RPG, but how about one for other series like Soul Eater, or even Jujutsu Kaisen? Maybe it could be an action RPG like the Final Fantasy VII remakes or the Tales of series. Or hell, we could get some more niche titles, like a shooting game with Black Lagoon, or a mecha brawler with Gurren Lagann, like what Gundam gets. The potential is there, but that would require going against the status quo, getting something different than a shonen battle fighting game or just another gacha game. and that takes effort. I just don't think these studios are interested in that. I could be wrong, but these games generally just make enough money, and then they go to make the next one. There isn't much passion or drive. It's honestly similar to the Call of Duty games. There's a new entry because we expect one, not because we're excited for it, or even because the makers are excited. When a game made by passionate people who loved working on it comes out, gamers can tell. They're the ones that we keep talking about over and over, even years down the line. They stand out from the crowd of bland and obligatory AAA games. And that's where anime games often fall down as well, just less boring. If you love these games, that's great. I can't help but have a soft spot for them, because I love this style so much, and I even really enjoy many of these series. I've definitely put some hours into a bunch of them. I can't help but want something more, because what we get often feels like the bare minimum. Click the join button below to become a member of the dojo to gain access to exclusive emoji, badges, and brand new videos.